Hi, everybody. I'm Carman here from Tinka Resources. It's a great opportunity. Thanks for the organisers to present an update on Tinka Resources and in particular the Ayahuasca Zinc Silver Project, our giant zinc silver project in Peru. I'm going to make some forward-looking statements. So here's a standard disclaimer. What's our competitive advantage? It's the geological potential and the size and grade of the Ayahuasca deposit, which is one of the largest undeveloped zinc and silver resources in the world, and certainly in the hands of a junior, 100% owned by Tinka. It's in a pro-mining jurisdiction of central Peru. And we've got some strong fundamentals. We put out a PEA back in 2019, which we think we can improve significantly with more exploration. The geological potential of the property is really fantastic, and I'm going to show a couple of slides in this presentation. We did a strategic investment with Buenaventura. Buenaventura is Peru's largest mining company, and they have now a 19% strategic stake in Tinka by investing some significant money. I think it was 12 million US back in January 2020. So we're fully cashed up and ready to go. And the current resources are shown on the diagram here. There's 45 million tonnes of inferred and around 12 million tonnes of high-grade indicated resources. Almost 7 billion pounds of zinc, and in gold equivalent terms, that's around 4 million ounces. So this is a significant deposit in terms of metal inventory, with also silver as a credit on top. A snapshot of the market capitalization and our investors. We've got $22 million in cash. We've got plenty of money fully funded for the next 12, 18 months, and an enterprise value of only 40 million Canadian dollars. We've got some really strong institutional investors led by some private equity, Sentient Equity Partners, Buenaventura, as I've just mentioned, and the IFC owns a minority stake, and they help us a lot with our ESG plans and programs as we go forward. We've got a really experienced management team with track record in Peru. We're highly technically driven, with a lot of track record and success behind our geologists, myself and Alvaro, who really drive the programs and the strategic programs as we build resources at Ayahuasca and elsewhere. In Peru, Peru's going through a pretty tough time at the moment. There's a state of emergency, and it's going to be enforced until 30th of June, and it's been in place since the 15th of March. However, exploration has been allowed to commence and continue from about a week ago. So we have actually submitted our health protocols, and we're ready to commence our exploration programs just as soon as we can. We're targeting an August commencement of our drill programs, and so that's what we're targeting. We've got around 7,000 meters of drilling planned for the back end of this year, at least. We're going to have 3 rigs turning and focusing on increasing our resources, particularly the tonnage and grade, increasing our indicated resources to the 20-25 million ton range. At least that's what we're planning, what we're targeting. And we're also targeting some additional discoveries of mineralization along our major structure, which we call the Coquipulcro Fault. Now, fundamentals for zinc. Zinc hasn't really been the flavor of the month recently, but the fundamentals actually remain very, very good. The supply remains tight, despite the fact that we've been through these difficult times with COVID-19 and so on. The prices of zinc and in fact all base metals are starting to increase. We haven't seen a large build-up in supply, and yet there's been pressure on the on supply, and yet there's been pressure on a number of mines with the lower prices. There's been mine closures around, and in fact in China, where a lot of the world's zinc comes from, many of their mines are in fact uneconomic at these sorts of prices. And the diagram with the red ovoid shape there shows the Chinese mines in red, and you can see that quite a lot of them at these prices are clearly uneconomic. And yet the zinc ore grades in the Chinese deposits continue to fall. I'm going to show you some maps here. the last few minutes of this talk. Here we are in central Peru. The infrastructure in this part of the world is really very, very good. There's a number of sealed roads that go up into the Andes. We're 200 kilometers north of Lima, and we're only a few kilometers from existing mines, in particular the ones with the green circles there, Buenaventura's Uchuchagua and Colquijirca mine, but also we've got Antamina 100 kilometers to our north. We have a power line right over the top of the resource, and really the infrastructure is fantastic. There's a smelter, Cajamarquilla, just outside of Lima. In terms of the pipeline for base metal and zinc projects in Peru, Awilca stands out as clear as day in terms of quality. It stands up against not only undeveloped projects, but also existing mines in terms of both size and grade. And as you can see on this diagram, it stands up against any of the projects, certainly at PEA level and also at production level. This is a detail of the geology looking down. It's a plan view. I'll just point your attention to what we call the Colquipulcro Fault. Now, this is a major structure which focuses the high-grade mineralization at the project. It's at least 4 kilometers long, where we have known mineralization from the silver oxides at the northern area, gradually plunging along to the south. The existing resources on this diagram are shown in blue and black. The indicated resources are shown in black. We've recently identified an area which we call far south, a large soil anomaly, completely undrilled, also along the same fault system. This is a longitudinal section along that fault. You can see the existing resources are at south and west, and plunging to the south along that fault. Untested targets to the south, and pretty sparsely drilled areas along the fault. So this year we're planning to drill a number of holes targeting mineralization adjacent to the existing resources. We can't yet test the far south area because it requires some additional permitting, but we're permitted for the rest of the area to drill any number of holes along this structure. ESG. There's been mentions of ESG previously already today. The ESG systems at Tinka are really very strong. We have a large community relations team. We've been working at Awilca now. Tinka has for the last 10 or 12 years. We've got excellent relationships with the local communities, long-term partnerships, social engagement, sustainable development programs. We have the IFC as one of our shareholders, and the IFC really have helped us a lot to build our programs and to build our support systems, to engage with the communities, and those programs are ongoing. And I think our team have done a tremendous job in retaining long-term partnerships and relationships with the communities. Now, in terms of the work program, I've already mentioned we've got a significant drill program commencing in August. We're going to have 3 rigs turning, targeting the high-grade mineralization along the fault. We've got a continued trade-off studies for the PEA. Our PEA was really very, very strong, which we announced 2019, but it had there's a number of optimizations and improvements that we can believe that we can make, notwithstanding if we find a whole bunch of more mineralization, particularly high grade, it's going to make a huge difference to the economics of the project. So planning to get this drill program completed this next 6 months, upgrade the resources early next year, and do a PEA update early in 2021. And then there's going to be a decision point where we're either going to continue exploring or potentially put this into a pre-feasibility phase sometime next year. This diagram highlights the resources. Again, really a strong resource component. 47, almost half of our resources are in higher grade parts of the deposit at South and West Awilca. And this is, I highlight investors to look at our website, www.tinkaresources.com. Feel free to drop me an email or drop Rob Brueggemann an email. It's been a pleasure talking to everybody. And if anyone wants to touch base with me, please do so via the website. All the best. Go well, everybody. Cheers for now.